Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our Spiritual Youth Circle program. Nick, would you like to open it up?
Yeah, thanks, Shwika. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the Spiritual Youth Circle. We are a group of high school and college students who get together to discuss spiritual topics. Today's talk is titled Cultivating, Nourishing, and Wholesome Relationships. And we're going to discuss relationships and how they can help us develop spiritually. Just so you know, this is being live streamed, and we hope to reach out and inspire as many youths as possible to talk about topics like we're about to discuss. I wanted to open it up with a bit of an icebreaker question, asking you all, why are relationships important? Bit of a heavy question.
I think that we are pretty social beings in general. And so we kind of need nourishing contact with other people in order to be happy and maintain like a sense of normalcy in our lives. And if anything, the pandemic has really shown that.
I think so. There's many different kinds of relationships, but I would say that in general, they're quite important to have loving exchanges and just inquiring confidentially, and then also just having someone at least to just express your thoughts to and seek help from.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Swika and Anshu said. So just for Yash, the question is, why are relationships important? So I think for me, relationships are important because I feel like when we're not sort of able to give ourselves love, having someone to show us love is a little comforting, and I think it's necessary because I think all of us have had some kind of experience of feeling lonely or not feeling that people love us, which is absolutely incorrect. Having those sort of feelings they really pull you down. They really make us sad. So I think that those are one of the reasons why I think relationships are important, just for our emotional stability. What about you, Yash?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's obviously a lot of reasons. I think I've heard like some of your answers before I did the question, and they're all really good. I think one thing that immediately came to my mind was it's just nice to have someone, like relationships to like as like as like a way of support, as a place to like lean on other people, like type of thing. I know, at least for me, for personal experience, like whenever I have like a problem that like it's it's a little bit more of a bigger problem. It's not like some like school homework or something like that. It's always nice just like talking about with other people or like ask others for advice. And in that sense, like kind of sharing like your problems, your life with other people, and kind of having them like guide you or like give them their input, and like just make sure like you kind of stay on the path that you want to be, whatever it may be. So I think that's one reason relationships are very important.
So we also have Bharat with us too. Bharat is, oh wow, rocking a new haircut. So nice, super cool. So the question for today's icebreaker is, why are relationships important? Do you have any thoughts on that, Bharat?
Yeah, I heard the end of what Yash said, and I think I really agree that relationships are really like the foundation for everything we do. Like if you want to do something, if you have people around you, it always makes it a lot easier. And those relationships that you build can help you in life so much. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
So true. I think something came to my mind actually when you were speaking about like having connections like will bring something good to you in your life in the future. I was just thinking about this idea of networking. And I know some of you are in university, some of you are not, but when you're in university, there's this big hype around building your network, making connections. There's this platform called LinkedIn that high schoolers, you guys are blessed not to know of yet, or use yet. It's where you basically make connections with other people, and try to expand your network so that you can basically go up the corporate ladder or get cooler jobs, things like that. And at least for me, that sort of relationship building it feels very transactional. It feels very like, can you do this for me if I do this for you? It feels incredibly shallow and deficient. So I'm trying to like, I think, and also we'll talk about this maybe today and maybe another time, but how relationships can be quite transactional if they're not built on a proper foundation of love. And yeah, genuineness. Anyone else feel that way? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Yeah. Networking is, I'm not sure. It's not a good experience, at least for me. Yeah, and Nick is like, no.
Well, speaking of being genuine, Shwika, I think you have something to say on that topic.
Yes, great. So our first point is kind of the contrast between duplicity and integrity. So I thought a good place to start would be looking at the definitions of both of those words. The definition of duplicity here is deceitfulness or double dealing. So kind of having two sides, but like being two different people around someone, right? In this definition. And integrity, the first definition is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. And the second is the state of being whole and undivided. And so when it comes to cultivating nourishing relationships, it's really important to have integrity and be yourself. And I think we've all known people who we deem are fake because they're one person around you, but another person around someone else. And I don't know about you, but like personally, that's like my absolute pet peeve. I really don't like fake people. And so it's really important to not put out a facade to be with a person, of someone who you aren't, because not only is that not very, it's not you having integrity, but it's also very hard to be someone you're not for a long time around somebody else. And I saw this quote recently. It said that there are some relationships that create so much safety that you no longer need to pretend to be someone you are not. Let that be your standard. I'll say that again. There are some relationships that create so much safety that you no longer need to pretend to be someone you are not. Let that be your standard. And I think that hits because, like, let that be your standard. Let all of your relationships have that safety and acceptance where you don't feel the need to put out a facade of who you think you should be or who they think you should be. And you can just be your honest self. So yeah, now that I've kind of given my spiel, I do have a question, and it is, what do you do when you don't feel safe enough to be yourself in a relationship or situation, where you feel this need to put out a front of you that isn't actually you? And feel free to like bring up any stories or any instances and how you handle that.
I can start things off. I don't have like a particular instance in mind, but like I guess more of like a general thing I do as a person, maybe. So in the case where I'm in a situation where I feel like I need to put up a facade, I generally, like, to be honest, I generally do. And like I just kind of adapt to who I'm with around and like just kind of go with the flow. But at the same time, like they're like, there's certain like I also have like a certain things where like, oh yeah, like this, like I'm gonna stay true to, like, no matter what. Like I'm like, the facade won't change that. Like if like, there's some lines like I just don't cross. And so I guess that's what ends up happening a lot of times, like in that sense where like I'll shift a little bit here and there just to kind of mesh with like where I'm in, like whatever situation I'm in. But like I wouldn't like, there's some things where like, no, this won't change. This has to stay constant.
Yeah, boundaries and like morals that you hold yourself to no matter what. Super important. Sorry, Survey, I cut you off.
No, I think that's such a good point. Like, if our values are strong and our boundaries are strong, then we can be true to ourselves. But when they're not strong, at least I've seen that in my own experience, when like my spiritual practice when my relationship with, my parents or something is not very strong, like I can feel the need to want to be someone else, the need to want to do things that aren't really in line with my values, because perhaps that will make me feel accepted and belong, and I will be able to belong in a community better. So yeah, that's very true. Hi, yeah, Anjika, please, we would love to hear you speak on this topic.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't actually attended for a while, but I think one scenario in which I do need to put up a facade is at like school, or like with people I've just met or like don't know very well, because I just think that they won't, like, if I just like basically show who I am immediately, then they'll probably be overwhelmed, to say the least. So
Yeah, I totally see that. And it's true. But I think like the line is when you've been friends with the person for a while, and then it's suddenly like, is it transitioning more to like you being your full self, or are you keeping up that facade? Right. And I recently saw this kind of post on Instagram, I think, and it was talking about the different types of courage. And one of the courages was social courage. And the definition of social courage that they put there was like being unapologetically yourself, like socially. And that really hit me, because I was thinking that I am apologetically myself. Like sometimes I'll do something or I'll say something, and then later I'll get anxious about it and think about it and be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe it was too much. But kind of having that social courage, and it takes courage to be unapologetically yourself, to not put up a facade. And so after I saw that post recently, something I've been striving to do is have social courage, and like unapologetically just be who I am. So yeah, it's a great point, Anjika.
I have something to say about that social courage. I really like that concept. And maybe this is just me. I want to ask if anyone else can relate to this, but even sometimes like with people that I know pretty well, I still struggle to be myself. Like sometimes I'll still be like afraid to say what I'm actually thinking, or not just because it might like be offensive or whatever, just like it's easier still to be kind of fake in a lot of situations. Like I find myself doing this like with, especially like with family sometimes. Like it's way easier to just be like really shallow, because like I'm so used to them that I take them for granted, and then I'm not really myself anymore. So it's like trying to remind myself like, no, these people actually care about me, and it's worth giving them my time and like genuine attention. I don't know. Does anyone else relate to that?
Yeah, I definitely relate. I found myself in many situations trying to like maintain a certain image of what I think they think of me, and really just masquerading as an idealized version of myself, even though that's not how I actually act. But I just sometimes think that that's how I should be acting, because that's how they think I normally am. So
Wow, I really relate to that. And I think like society labels us, and like we all have labels. Like I can just think of some off the top of my head. It's like I'm a woman, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, like I'm a college student, and blah blah blah. And with those labels come all of these expectations of like who you should be as these like labels that you are. And it's like maybe you're not exactly like the stereotypical like definition of that label. And so it's like, are you living for everybody else and what they expect of you, or are you living for yourself? And again, I saw this other quote, and it was like, in 20 years, make sure you chose your life. You didn't just settle for it, and make sure that you lived your life for you, and you didn't live it for everybody else. And that really hit too. So yeah, that's a great point, actually. That really resonated with me.
Yeah, one thing I've kind of noticed is that when I like start a relationship or like a friendship with a facade, then trying to break that facade gets harder and harder as time goes on. So like just being genuine when you approach someone, like I don't think they're gonna like reject you for the person you are, because we're all like wonderful people. And if they reject us, then that relationship isn't really something that we need in the first place. So just being genuine and straight up is something that I've started trying to do, and I still end up trying to put up a facade often, just because I feel like I'm not very confident in myself as a person yet, and I'm just trying to like find that sweet spot.
Anyone else? Yeah, she can go ahead.
I didn't really have like I like Bart's point there. Like, and I kind of just thought like that reminded me of like kind of an example that like kind of demonstrates that. It's like when I was a kid, right? So like the way you like pronounce my name like properly is like it's Yash, right? So but a lot of times like a lot of people end up saying like Yash, like with like an O sound kind of instead of like the And so whenever I meet someone new, like for the longest time, like especially when I was a kid, like all up to like high school, basically, I'd always say, "Oh, hey, my name is Yash." I would just kind of like go with it. Like I would assume that I would like probably can't say Yash, even though it's like not that different or not that hard, right? So, and so Bharat's point was like when you first introduce yourself with like a facade, it's hard to break that facade later. So like I like that's the same issue with like if I introduce myself as Yash and eventually like someone finds out, oh, my name's actually Yash. It's like it's hard to like kind of change that like pronunciation, like the way you say it then like if I just said, oh, hey, my name's Yash from the very beginning. I thought like that just popped in my head, connected the two, but like demonstrate kind of like what Bart's point was.
Okay, I literally relate to that because in seventh grade, my math teacher like said my name wrong the whole year, and I never corrected her. I just let it go, and it was like wildly wrong. And then on the last day of school, I was finally like sick of it, and I was like, my name is actually pronounced like Sueka. And then she was like, I feel like she was hurt. She was like, you just let me pronounce your name wrong for the whole school year. And then I felt bad that I was like, well, didn't even correct her, and I let this facade go on. And it's like sometimes it's important to like correct people in the beginning so that at the end, when you're finally like, no, this is who I am, then they're not like, what the heck, you know? So yeah.
I mean, we could have like an entire like panel discussion on like how our names have been mispronounced by American teachers. It's like Sueka, Anshu, Bharat, Yash, Anjika, and then mine is Surabi, but it's actually Surabi. It's awful. It's awful. I mean, Nick doesn't. Nick. I don't know if Nick can relate, but
No.
Nick is chilling.
It's like
He's our support. He's our support.
I have it from the other end because I've taught as a substitute teacher, so I like try really hard to say kids' names correctly. Like what Sweka said is something I think is really interesting. That about this like duplicity and integrity. Like we often want to be duplicit because we think it's easier or something, but people don't like that. Like people want us to be genuine too. Like that's the part that's kind of crazy. Like people want to say your name correctly if they can. For example, they don't want to say it wrong. They feel awful when they've said it wrong for months. So by the same token, like people want to know like who you are on like a personal level too. They don't want to interact with this fake person because then once they figure it out, they'll have this like cognitive dissonance or like this painful feeling of some kind where they're like, oh, who was I talking to? Like, who is that person?
And I guess what stops that, sorry, go ahead, Anjika.
Oh, sorry, no, you can go first. It's okay.
No, I was just thinking, I feel like what pushes us to be duplicit or like not even like I feel like that's like such a heavy word, but like to like change ourselves for other people if we think that like other people won't like us for who we are. And I think that's such a sad feeling to think that people won't like me, won't accept me for who I am. So yeah, I think that comes from a very deep, dark fear. Anjika, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So actually what I've noticed though, I don't want to be like devil's advocate or something, but what I've noticed though is I have tried like showing my actual self to like friends just like right off the bat, but I end up scaring them very, very much for some reason. I don't know why yet. I think there's a lot of reasons. Like my nerdiness and dorky love of old Bollywood. But I think, like, is there anything I could do about that?
Okay. I think that personally, I feel like the right people will like stick around. Like what's meant for you will always be yours, no matter like if you can just be yourself. And like people that are meant to stay in your life will stay and appreciate it and love it and like respect you for who you are, you know? And like the truth is that there are like 7 billion people in the world. And obviously it's like people we meet aren't going to click with us, but it's like as long as we keep putting out our authentic selves, then eventually like the energy we give off will attract people that kind of match that energy, right? And it takes time. It's not like every person you're gonna meet is gonna like some people will be scared. I'm sure people are scared of me too, like because I'm like freaking weird in my own way. So it's just like, yeah, if you give off authentic energy and you're like authentic self, then you'll attract that energy back to you. I mean, that's my personal take on it. I'm also working on it. Like, so this is also what I'm trying to do. But anyone else have any thoughts on it?
I mean, I'm sure everyone has had such a similar experience. I'm so happy that Anjika brought that up, like that devil's advocate. Um, I have a little bit of a different take on what Sweka said. I do totally believe that like the right people will come to you if you keep putting your authentic self out. But I also think, Anjika, like even I see like we experience your like energy every week, and like there's like so much like cool fun energy coming from you, and everyone has like such different like unique energy. I just think if you like feel safe with a certain person, then you can open up. Like it's a small gift. Like let me show you the small little J.R.R. Tolkien like little fan of part of me. Then maybe I'll show you this like little Harry Potter side of me, this little old Bollywood side of me, this little spiritual side of me. Because like I have friends and I don't like they're not close friends. Like I don't talk to them about like my my real things, but they're still my friends. Like I'm still authentic with them, but I'm not authentic to like my authenticity is like a little shade. Like I can show you this much and then this much and then this much. So I think I don't know. I do really agree that we should be 100% authentic, but it can be really scary. What is Anjika saying? Yeah, there is often more pressure to get more friends, right? But I think it's
So
nice.
Ruby, I think you touched on something that's kind of similar to what I wanted to say in response, which is that there's a distinction between like your being genuine in your personality traits and like how you like to spend your time or like what your hobbies are. Like you can be 100% genuine in your character, like be yourself, be who you are, but you don't have to tell people like the details of what you're doing or like what you're into, because that could just be like a lot for some people, especially if it's like very different than what they're used to. Like it would be like, like if you met someone at the bus stop and they just started telling you about like their entire day, and you're like, geez, I don't want to hear about your whole day. Like you seem nice, but like that's a lot to listen to. I don't want to listen to 20 minutes of how like you went to the grocery store or whatever.
Or your childhood trauma.
Sure. Like some things might just be too much for people as far as like specific content, but that doesn't mean you aren't being yourself necessarily. Like we have like a personality that's deeper than like our hobbies or what have you. Like I'm saying this because I know from experience, Anjika, like I got some pretty nerdy hobbies as well, and like I I can only talk about them with the people that are also into those things. Like I'm into like medieval, like even more specific than like Lord of the Rings, like just like yeah, the Silmarillion, right? So for the Silmarillion, you could go on and on and on about all the lore and all the Silmarils and Feanor and everything. But then like no one's gonna want to hear that. Like, unless they've also read it, you know? Like, you could maybe talk to me about it, but yeah, exactly. She just said she knows from experience. Yeah. Like, but that doesn't mean you can't be yourself. You can still be authentic to who you are in that, like, you can be sweet and really funny and nice, all the things that are parts of you. You can still do that. Like, I wouldn't go around talking about how I'm like, I got like a collection of medieval swords. I don't tell people that all the time, but you know, I can still be who I am though. I think that's still possible.
Does anyone else have a hot take on this? Anjika, Yash, Anshu, or Bharat?
Yeah, I've actually noticed something a bit different. For me, it's like if I feel like I'm hiding something from everybody, like for example, like one on my school side, I'll be like hiding my spiritual side, and on my spiritual side, I'll be hiding my school side, something like that. I find it that it's so like it's not like pressure, but it's like I don't have anyone who I can just like completely open up to. And I'm so happy that I've actually like found someone now. It's my cousin actually, and it's just so nice to be able to open up about everything because it's just like a weight off your head that you can really talk about anything. And yeah, that's been my experience. And yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. What you're saying about like your school life versus your spiritual life, like I know like with people at school, maybe not like my closest friends, but like I was like, so 2 points here. One, there's like I feel like there's levels of relationships, right? There's like people you like strangers like you don't know at all, and there's like acquaintances and like friends, close friends. Like there's different like types of people like that. And so with like at least for me with everyone that's like not a close friend, there are like certain topics where like you just can't really like touch upon. Like I wouldn't talk about like spirituality or stuff like that with like a random person on the street or even like someone maybe that I'm like acquainted with, like I might know, but like I wouldn't just like drop that on them. Um, and so like that, I think one thing that can often that can lead to a lot of like compartmentalization, like where you have like, oh, with this group of friends, I'm like this person I can talk about this, and like with this group of friends I can talk about this, and like um I really like what Nick, the point he brought up earlier, where like there's like a distinction between your like your personality and your hobbies and traits versus like just who you are. And you can still like, I think the part you can be like true to like with all those groups is like who you are. You would still have to drop like your whole personality, your whole like likes, just like everything right away with every single like group or like friend or whoever it may be. But there's still like some like it's good to have like that distinction between like what are those fundamental things that like you believe in, that like hey, like this I can be true to like with everyone.
100%.
That is an excellent point. And I think this is kind of bleeding into the next topic, which I'm going to move into, which is about like different types of relationships, which is what I've called the relationship rainbow, where, you know, not every person is going to be like going to satisfy all of your needs in every way. Like you're not going to be able to talk about the intimate details of your nerdy hobbies with literally everyone, or talk about spirituality in the same way with everyone. And that's why we tend to have different flavors of relationships. We have parents, teachers, friends, juniors, seniors, equals, all sorts of people in our lives that we relate to in different ways. And just like eating a rainbow diet is the healthiest way to eat, with lots of fruits and vegetables and different colors, we need a relationship rainbow as well. We need all sorts of different types of people in our lives. And when you're eating like for your diet, right? If you eat just one food all the time, it's not going to be healthy. Like I might only want to eat chocolate chip cookies, but if I did that, it would not be the best behavior long term. Likewise, I might want to just hang out with my younger brother all the time because he's like my best friend, but that wouldn't lead to a well-rounded or fulfilling life. I might have like lots of funny, engaging conversations, but I'd never get the ability to learn things like I would from an elder. You know, I wouldn't be able to one day have a family of my own because I'd be too busy hanging out with my brother and not like dating or whatever. um, and I just wanted to open up to you all. What are the different flavors of relationships in your life, and how do they nourish you in different ways?
This kind of relates to like this whole conversation relates to something my mom was telling me the other day. Don't know why she was telling me this. I think she just wanted to pass this advice on for the future. But she was like, it's like when you get married, like do not only have one friend and that's your husband. Like don't do it. She's like, don't cut off your friends when you get married and then like get obsessed with your husband and then just like be like you and your husband. I was like, I would never do that. And she was like, yeah, but then you'll get married and then you'll get caught carried away. So like just don't do it. And she was like, because like even though yes, you share your whole life with that one person and they're your life partner, it's like you cannot have every single flavor of everything you need in one person. It's not possible for one person to be all of that for you. It's wrong to expect that of them. And yeah, it's like you shouldn't do that. She was like, keep your girlfriends around. Like they're there for you and like they'll provide valuable insight. And like you should have you should have like just again, her point was don't depend on one person, even though you're sharing your whole life with them for everything. And she just said this to me a couple weeks ago. So it's still fresh in my mind and it just related to this point.
It's like Instagram, your life, some higher power is like always just like molding your life so that you have something to say for our spiritual youth circles.
That's so funny. Wait, yeah, I don't know.
Anyone else? Let me bring up the question again. What are the different flavors of relationships in your life and how do they nourish you?
Wait, I can chime in real quick. So okay, like I'm gonna talk about one flavor specifically that I think is like kind of important sometimes. So you can have like a lot of like different friends, people that like you agree with, share different interests with, things like that. But I think I definitely have some friends where like we're definitely very different or have different beliefs, and I think like that's good just to have like to really like to have us go around to like kind of see like different types of like perspectives, because like I guess if you have too many people around you that are like super similar to you and like exactly like you, then like it's always gonna like you you'll like always be as happy with like with who they are and like everything, you're always happy, but like you'll I think it becomes tough to like often like understand other people too that are different from you. And so having people that are different from you is like I think also kind of important. You don't have to like love each other, be besties all the time, but like at least respect each other and try to understand each other and like just have that mutual respect so that just to like help yourself become a better person overall and more empathetic and empathic, having more empathy for others. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah, Nick, you want to say something?
Sure. So I want to respond to what you said in the chat, Surabhi, about how today is in particular is celebrating a very specific flavor. It's Father's Day today. So I was thinking about my relationship with my father and just kind of like the role of fathers in general. And it's a really interesting type of relationship. Like it's because they're an elder. So, they got that wisdom that's really important. But also like I'm noticing this with my dad, like, there's the whole like generational karma thing. So they're dealing with the same stuff. Like my dad's dealing with a lot of the same stuff I'm dealing with. So in one way, like his advice isn't as valuable as like a mentor figure might be. But on another level, it's really intimate and like he's gone through a lot of the same things I've gone through. So in that way, it's super valuable. Like he's been right there, like in the mud with me the whole time. And he definitely knows me very well compared to other mentors in my life, other like elders in my life. And I just feel really lucky to have him in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can, I mean, if other people have some reflections, maybe you can also add this to like the discussion. Like, let's take a moment to, also, I remember one of our other SYC topics like fell on Mother's Day. So I feel like it's good to take a moment to like maybe reflect on our relationship with our fathers right now. I guess I want to share something. I find that when my relationship with my dad is not as strong, I find myself looking outward for that kind of love, that kind of wisdom, that kind of thing, and it feels very unfulfilling because that's all I want. It's like my dad's wisdom, my dad's care, my dad's yeah, this is getting a little vulnerable, but yeah, it's my dad has a very, very, very important part in my life. And there's been many times where I've been like, man, we don't get along. It's mainly because we're like just like each other, so we don't get along at all. So I feel like it's very important, our relationship with our dads, but navigating it is a challenge that's worth taking, because there is that generational gap, there is that difference in opinion. But yeah, I'm really super grateful. I would love to hear what you all think about this very interesting and I could also say sometimes difficult to navigate relationship.
May I speak? Yeah, I think the advice that you get from like your dad, or like just in general parents, I suppose, like from one's parents, is I don't think you can get that advice from anywhere else. Like if you, like, for example, pay someone to give you the same advice, for some reason it just doesn't, like, it's not the same because they're doing it for the money and you can kind of tell. Or like favors or something.
Yeah, I think
Something I always hear is like, my advice is very bitter. Like my mom will say like, oh yeah, if your friends say the same thing, you'll listen. But if I say it, like you won't listen. I'm not sure if anyone has, yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's difficult to hear it from your friends, but yeah, they're the ones who care about you a lot more. It's difficult to navigate them. When I die, then you'll know. When you have kids of your own, then you'll know. No, we get it, Ajantika. Feel free to jump in whenever.
You brought up a good point, Surabhi, about how they really care. And I think that really relates to Anjika's point that like when you pay someone to be your therapist, right? Like they're talking to you and you don't really owe them anything other than the money. So like it doesn't really matter how you treat them when you're talking to them so much. But like when it's someone that actually is invested in you, like your father, then like what you bring to the table matters. Like you got to remember that like they're like a person. Like you can lean on them, cry on their shoulder or whatever, but like at the end of the day they're like also invested in you, and like they genuinely want to see you succeed and like show you what you need to know, support you. Like it's aw. But yeah, it's I don't know if people saw that in the recording, but Surabhi showed a picture of her dad.
Yeah, I mean that's only for the Zoom people right now.
Yeah. But yeah, like I don't really know how else to say that, but just like it's a two-way street more so when it's with your parents than with like a therapist or something. And they have needs of you too. That's the other thing that's kind of crazy. Like as you get older, like they expect you to do stuff and like it becomes your responsibility.
Anyone else have anything to share about one of the most important people in our lives. Anything else?
All right. Well, I'm going to want to get to something kind of related, talking, like, funnily enough, I wasn't even noticing, but I brought up my next point about how, as we age, how we interact with these relationships changes. Like, do you remember being a kid and having a kid's palate? Like, I remember I only liked to eat crunchy junk food and nothing else. Like, it was a struggle to get me to eat vegetables. But as I grew up, for some reason, like broccoli and Brussels sprouts and things like that just started to taste better. I don't know how, it just happened. And then I guess my taste buds shifted around. But, and I slowly, not that I'm really there, but slowly I started to get more of a rainbow diet. But in the same way, our expectations about relationships can change as we mature. I have this quote from a philosopher, Albert Camus, who said something really amazing on this topic. He said, "When I was young, I asked more of people than they could give. Everlasting friendship, endless feeling. Now I know to ask less of them than they can give. A straightforward companionship. And their feelings, their friendship, their generous actions seem in my eyes to be wholly miraculous, a consequence of grace alone." And I wanted to ask, how have your relationships with your parents, maybe your dad, friends, family, even romantic relationships, how has your relationship with those relationships changed?
Can I share something, please?
Of course.
Sorry, it's
Go ahead. You don't have to ask, Anshika. We always want to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm still in the school years, so it just feels odd. But basically, okay, so when I was younger, I kind of thought, like, again, with the everlasting friendship thing, I kind of thought my friends would be with me forever until I die or longer. And when we moved, though, I wasn't really expecting this. Like, we moved across states, not just across cities like usual. And so I wasn't really expecting like the sudden complete, like almost complete separation, because like after like maybe 1 month, you don't really communicate with each other anymore. And so that was jarring, I think. And because of that, I got kind of paranoid, and I didn't make friends until I think 4 or 5 years later. So
That sounds so tough. Wow. I must have been really lonely for 4 or 5 years. I mean, hopefully you had other support system, but yeah, it's just so damaging. Like words like, like those sayings like family is first, friendship is forever, best friends forever. I think like people don't realize that, that's often not the case. That's often not possible all the time. So those kind of, I mean, I can share from my experience. I had this one friend. We were really, really close we were like little kids, like 7 years old. And I was really, really close to her, almost to the point where it was almost like a toxic friendship. We wouldn't let each other talk to each other. We would always talk to each other only, like tell our problems about school, tell our problems about temple, tell our problems about everything with this one friend. And I think that the reason that it didn't last, I mean, it was an awesome friendship, but the reason it didn't last was because there weren't other flavors in my other relationships. I didn't have other people to talk to. I only had that one friend to like give all of my brain dump to. And I think, like, yeah, those sayings are so damaging if we don't realize that there are other ways to like, some friendships are only for some while, and that's okay. Sweka, you have something about friendships, right? The cup analogy, the mug analogy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That's yeah. I guess that does have to do with the flavors. I heard this cup analogy is a long time ago. I heard it, but basically it's like a way to categorize your friendships. There's like the first type of friendship is like the mug type of friendship, and like mugs are very sturdy. They're very actually I want to start with another one. The first type of friendship is like the solo cup friendship, and you know how solo cups, you know those like when you see parties, it's like everyone uses those red disposable solo cups. It's like nobody cares, you know, like you can throw away a solo cup and get another solo cup. It's like use and throw. It's like just acquaintances, you know, you don't really care if you never see them again, or like they don't really matter that much. So they're solo cup friendships. And then there's like the teacups, and like teacups are kind of very dainty. It's like if you drop a teacup, it's gone, it's shattered. There's no repairing that. So you have to be very careful around teacups. There's not a lot of safety when you're using a teacup. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of an anxious cup. So same with the friendships. It's like there's not a lot of safety. It's kind of anxious with that friendship. You don't really know where it's going with that. So there's like those teacup friendships. And then there are mugs, which are like super dependable. Even if you drop a mug, it's like it's probably not going to break. You know, there's just like, it's like you use it every day. Like, this is my mug. I use it every day and I drink tea in it. But I love it. It's like big. It is perfect. So, anyway, those are like the mug friendships, and they're like your best friends, very dependable, very strong, very sturdy. And so, like, we all have these three different types of friendships. But I think a lot of like, when it comes to categorizing, we should try to capitalize on the amount of mugs we have, and cut down on the teacups and solo cups. But there will always be teacup relationships and always be solo cup relationships. But it's really important that you have like, you know, a number of steady mugs in your closet and like your cupboard that you can always depend on and you can always like call on. And it's important that you are also giving off mug vibes to other people, not teacup or solo cup type of vibes. So that was the analogy. But I did have another, thank you. But I did have another point I was thinking of when I heard Anchika's story, which is I resonated with it, and same with Surabhi. And I was thinking that when I was younger, I really romanticized everything. Maybe it's just come from like freaking Disney, like Hannah Montana and stuff. It's like you know, it just makes you romanticize things. And so I also thought, yeah, I'm gonna be friends forever, blah 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 blah. And I think I have one friend that I've known like forever, like since I was like 8, and like she's still one of my best friends. But like that's it, you know, it's like all my other friends have changed over time. And now that I'm older, I look at everything and yeah, I don't romanticize anything anymore. Like when I meet someone, I'm very well aware that they could step out of my life at any time and I would have absolutely no control over that. And it's like, yeah, it's just now my worldview is so much more realistic, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, it's like better because we're older. So yeah.
100%. I think there's also like, go ahead, Nick.
I was just relating about like the difference between early childhood friendships and even like middle school, high school, and beyond relationships. Like when you're really young, your friends are mostly just like kids who live near you, or like your parents are friends. And then, you know, as you get a little older, maybe around like, I don't know, 12 or something, you start to become more of an individual. And then like those relationships can become more distant between like you and your early childhood friends, and you start to like enter like new social circles, and like they kind of differentiate because, you know, you get to pick your friends more. And I was just thinking about like how attached we are though early on. Like even though like I guess when you're a kid, you don't know the difference between like a solo cup and a mug. So you're like, you know, I don't care what kind of cup it's in. I just like drinking this drink. Like the kids are more genuine in that way. Like they don't care about the like how long, they don't even think about how long it's gonna last. They just like are completely absorbed in the friendship. And in one sense, that's admirable. But another sense, you gotta protect yourself as you get older. Like you don't want to get so invested that you just get like totally spun out anytime things don't go your way.
Anyone else have any last reflections? Yes,
Wait.
yes.
I have like a question on what Nick was saying. So like you brought up the point like when you're when you're a kid, like you don't really differentiate between a solo cup versus a mug, and like you just kind of want to drink the drink, just you know, hang out, have fun with all, like whoever it is, right? So it sounds like so I guess that once you get older, once you get more maturity, you definitely want to like distinguish between like who are your solo cups, who are your mugs, right? But then what I was thinking was when you're a kid, I feel like it's not that like people don't distinguish between them, it's more like there isn't as much of a need to distinguish because people like there's like the lack of maturity. Everyone's like kids are much more like simpler I don't know. There's a difference between like when you're older, you have like people have like they become their individual, whereas when you're still a kid, you're not like that individual yet, and you're just kind of like I feel like you're more I don't know how to describe it, but you're just kind of more like happy, go like, oh yeah, like want to play, like let's do it, and like there isn't as much like there isn't as many like barriers or like distinguishes or like differentiating factors that like people start to like more actively think about. So like the way I was seeing it was that like when you're a kid, it's not that like you don't care about who's a red solo cup or who's a mug. It's more just like everyone's a mug just because like everyone's just like accepting and open and like not as much like an individual yet. But like I don't know. Well, I guess what were your thoughts on that? Was what I was gonna ask.
See, I don't know if they're actually mugs just because the kid's like really into it. I think there's room for kids just being kind of ignorant because they're young, right? Like they just really don't know the difference. Either that, or if we want to play with the analogy more, like Swiko's like, when you drop a mug, it doesn't always break. Sometimes it does. Like it could be that too. I don't know. Like the handle might break off, and you're like, dude, I still want this cup. I don't know.
Everyone show off their water bottle. Yesh is like nothing.
Sorry, but were you talking? You're muted.
Sorry, I think I got muted. But yeah, I think it's great that we all have some sturdy water bottles near us because I guess it shows that we're also trying to be sturdy friends for each other, like mugs. The analogy went too far. So I was also thinking we were talking about this wide variety of friends we can have, so many flavors of friendship. So I want to take Nick's point and kind of flip it on its head. And instead of the width of our friendships, I'd like to talk a little bit about the depth. So this point is called depth versus width. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how in the beginning I had mentioned this thing about networking. So I feel like I've already said a little bit about it, but when we network with other people, there's this sense that we might get something from a relationship. It's very transactional. It's very short, and we're trying to like always build our connections. I'm right now I'm thinking like we have so many followers on Instagram. We have so many people we follow on Instagram. We have so many followers on Facebook, friends on Facebook. But what really are those? Is that small group of friends that we have? Like recently, honestly, because of this pandemic, I've been reaching out to so many people that I've never met and making so many acquaintances with other people. So my contact list just like goes on and on and on. But how many of those people are really close to my heart, are really there for me during difficult times and good times and bad times? And really the list comes down to like 1, 2, 3, 4 people. And it's I don't want to say it's sad, but it just shows that the closer we are to people, the smaller the group gets. I was talking with Nick about this. We were talking, and Nick brought up this analogy about digging a well, which I really like. So I'm going to tell you all about it. If you want to dig a well, would you dig 1,000-foot hole, or would you dig a 10,000 1-foot hole? Think about that. If you were trying to dig a well, would you try to dig 1,000 1-foot wells, or would you try to dig 1,000-foot well? So in order to really go deeper in our relationships, it's not that we will make so many friends, we'll make so many followers, we'll have so many friends on Facebook, but actually just give to one relationship. And I was reflecting, and in our group discussion, we were talking while preparing that spiritual youth circle is kind of like that kind of well. We have every week we're learning something cool about Nick or Anjika or Yash, or everyone here has so many cool things to share, what people are fans of and things like that. But we also get to go deep. And, today, so many people shared some vulnerable things because relationships are a vulnerable topic. And so we're going deep and we're also going wide. We're learning, like, there's so many exciting things all of you are doing, and I'm sure we'll learn more about it in the summer that's coming. But there's so many deep insights you all are bringing up as well. So spiritual youth circle is kind of this place for us to like dig a well and kind of make good relationships like that. So I also wanted to tell you all about something else I heard, and this is something Suika told me about actually. She was hearing a class with a spiritual mentor whose name is Vaisheshika Das, and he was mentioning, don't go shopping when you are hungry. So, and he was telling this like, he was telling us to talk about relationships. So I'd like to ask, what do you think, don't go shopping when you are hungry? What does it really mean? And how does it relate to relationships and this talk that we're having right now? Anyone have any thoughts? Don't go shopping when you are hungry.
I'll take a whack at it. So like there were two things that like, so yeah, what came to my mind immediately was that like, don't go shopping when you're hungry. So like if you're hungry, like you should probably go eat. Like don't go shopping. So like, and the way I interpret that was like focus on what you need, not necessarily what you want. And the way you could apply that in relationships, like if you know you need certain things from like from certain people, like you need like some like type of support system specifically, like don't go looking for what like might be like flashy and pretty or like what you want, focus on what you really need, like from like a support system, I guess.
Wow. It's like identify your own needs. And once you identify your own needs, then you'll have like some direction. Like if I want to feel comforted, then maybe I shouldn't go to a friend or an acquaintance who can't give me that. Maybe I should go to my mom. Maybe I should go to my parents. That's really nice. Anyone else have any thoughts? Anjika?
Yeah, I was thinking it was something like kind of similar because if you want to like open like if you want to so like you might, if you want to open up to somebody, probably open up to like one of your closer friends, because if you open up, so like shopping, I meant like I took that as looking for friends. So don't open up to like people you've just met otherwise, or like you might snap at them or something, literally. And then you'll have literally nobody. So
looks like we're all talking from experience. Yeah. So maybe stick to your closer friends for that. Maybe I can share what I was thinking this meant. I was thinking something similar, but I was also thinking, don't go shopping. Shopping could mean, looking for like a relationship or friendship. When you're hungry, meaning when you yourself don't have any love inside you to give, or like inside of you to like give to yourself, like you can't go outside and expect someone else to give that love to you. So I'm thinking, when you're feeling lonely and you try to go into a relationship, it really hurts because we're looking for a friendship to like cure our lack of self-love or cure our lack of self-respect and things like that. So that's what I was thinking. Like we need to go deep within ourselves in order to give love to others. That's what I thought it meant. Yeah, Bharat, what do you think?
I actually thought of something like almost completely different. I thought of like the word hungry as in like you're looking for something, and when you're going shopping, it's like you'll end up buying more and more and more because you're hungry for that. And I kind of thought of it like, if for relationships specifically, if we're looking for a specific type of relationship, I don't think we should force that type of relationship on someone we meet. Like if we meet someone, we shouldn't expect them to be a mug or expect them to be a teacup. We should let the relationship like develop naturally, and what it ends up is what it will, because if we end up forcing that, that relationship might just go away completely. And that's kind of what I understood from it.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's actually a really good point. I think that's not what I was thinking when I said it, but now that you said it, I'm like, that's a great meaning. What I was thinking is that don't go shopping when you're hungry. It's like when you're lonely and you don't feel like you feel a bit alone. It's like, don't go looking for a relationship, or for that matter, even like a friendship, because it's like, it's going to become codependent. It's natural that you don't feel happy inside. So you go looking, you're like, okay, I want a relationship or friendship to make me happy. Immediately your happiness will start to depend on that person that you find. And then it's going to lead to a codependent relationship. And if it doesn't work out, it's not gonna end well for you, because it's gonna be really like hard for you to let go. And so maybe when you feel that way, when you feel hungry or you like feel lonely, instead of going to find another person, we should just go deeper within ourselves and kind of find out, like, why am I feeling lonely? Because like Serbi mentioned, it's like you need to be happy in yourself, meet someone else who's also happy, and then share that happiness between you. You can't depend on each other for that happiness, because it's like you can't do it. Like it's not your job to make somebody else happy. It's your job to just keep yourself happy. And I think that's a really important distinction. So before you get into a relationship, a PSA, be happy within yourself, and find someone else who's also happy within themselves and share happiness. Do not depend on another person for happiness, because it just will not work out. So yeah.
Wega has given her official blessing to all of you. The official last reminder. All right. If anyone has any other reflections, we can take them now. Otherwise, Nick, you want to take it away?
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this week's talk on cultivating, nourishing, and wholesome relationships. It was so nice to have you all here. I think we had an excellent discussion today. Really nice to be talking about relationships on Father's Day of all days. Please stay tuned for next week's talk show. Sign up on Spiritual Youth Circle if you haven't already, and follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Really nice to see you all. Hope to see you all next week. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.
A great week. It was great. Thank you all for being so vulnerable and really honest. I love it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.